Family TV, enriching lives.
All right, that's the goal. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This is Ask the CEO. Now, for those of you who are probably joining us for the very first time, this show airs live every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. My name is Apollo Sabiiti. I love to say it's always a pleasure as well as a privilege knowing that you are tuned in, you are listening in, you are watching us from the other side. Now, I am very privileged to have an amazing lady in the house, a familiar face probably for some of you. We will give her a minute to say hello to the dear viewers before we dive into the topic tonight.
Thank you very much, Apollo. Good morning to all good evening to all the viewers.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be on the TV show, and I'm really looking forward to having this conversation.
Same here, and I believe that's the same feeling that someone who is watching us out there has, or pretty much get a link much later after the live show. Now, tonight we'll be talking about how legal firms can support the growth of SMEs, not just here in Uganda, but across the African land. Now, SMEs, for probably some of us who are not conversant with the business language, is an acronym for small and medium enterprises. You will also remember statistics say that Uganda's business arena is composed of 90% of these, and the other 10% falls in some other categories. We're very glad to have Mrs. Diana Ninsiima Kibuuka, who is an advocate. She is a connector, and she's also a community leader. Council, I should also add. And maybe much later on the show, we'll be getting some other detail of what's going on. Hash has been going on over the waves, and I'm very sure you can begin to link her face with what you've been seeing all over social media and other mainstream media platforms. Diana, Mrs. Diana holds, you've been to Makerere University, a place that I hold so dear.
Okay.
And at Makerere, I resided in one of the best halls.
Which one?
Lumumba.
Oh.
All right, now as we start this evening, before we dive into the topic, we like to get to know our guests.
Yes.
Where are they coming from? Even before we talk SMEs,
Yes.
everyone out there, people who are watching us tonight, jump-starting their businesses, or some people actually carving out a new path in the business arena.
Yes.
What exactly we want to give them before we dive into the legal knowledge for startups is, who is this lady who is speaking us tonight? Where does your story begin from?
Okay, thank you very much, Apollo. So my story begins from my family. I was born into a big family. My father had 10 children, and of those 10 children, I am the seventh. Sixth, I think I come towards the end. And one thing that has always stood out for me is that I've seen people helping each other. I've seen people working together. I've seen people bringing the limited resources they have to grow. So my father was in administration. He used to work in the university, Makerere University, Chambogo University. But my mother was a businesswoman. And even when she had a job in Tropical Africa Bank at that time, she used to get materials from Nairobi and sell them downtown, baby materials. She used to basically hustle. She was a hustler, you know, and she would travel to Nairobi by bus, come back, and have merchandise in the shop. And of course, she would work Monday to Friday.
We call the usual 8 to 5.
And then she had the shop downtown. And so I remember growing up, I always knew you had to work hard, and you had to make ends meet. You had to find the means and resources. So later on, she left employment and started a supermarket.
Went all out into business.
Started a small supermarket called Gaba Supermarket, and that supermarket is still there today. And that supermarket has served her community in Gaba, after Munyoyo. And always, I remember that small supermarket has always sold bread and milk. Those were the two products which sustained that supermarket and sustained a big family in Kampala and in Kabale, because the resources from that small shop used to pay school fees, used to provide for needs of people in different places. But also that shop used to provide employment. So I worked there. Yes, I worked there when I was...
Vacation?
From about S2.
Okay.
Holidays. I had to sit in that shop, serve customers, count the money, But really, I just remember serving customers. You had to be polite, you had to be gracious. You learned so many social skills from sitting in that shop and serving everybody, from the one who's brought a very dirty, wrinkled 1,000 to the one who's saying,
the old 1,000 green note,
yes,
kinda.
Very, very, and dirty, like literally rumpled. But you had to be courteous. You had to serve everybody. So I think I learned a lot in that space. I learned a lot from that role, and for me, it's been a journey from there of learning how to work with people, support people in business, and grow. But maybe just to add to that, my father always believed that we had to work in our vacation. And so he had to make sure you found a job, but it was 8 to 5, professional, you showed up professionally and you were held accountable for how you performed in that job. So I think my background has always been one where I knew I was expected to work. I knew I was expected to show up and deliver. There was no plan B. There was no calling my mother and saying, no, I can't open the shop today. It's too early. It has rained. You get up, you do your part for the family. And so I think that foundational exposure to a very small, let me call it a micro SME. And then the foundational exposure to working in a formal setting helped a lot. Yes, I will stop there. That's my foundational background.
When she says she'll stop there, it's not just stopping there. That's really some foundation. Yes. Many young people never get to experience that until when they're out of school, and sometimes it's kind of a shock.
True.
And it takes a while for them to stagger and then find their footing.
True.
You must count yourself privileged.
Yes.
I should also add that you will always know someone who has tasted Kabale Irish when you find one. Pleasure to have you on the show once again. Hello, viewers. And in case you're joining us for the first time, this is Ask the CEO, an amazing show that comes to you live every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. And on this show, we bring you executives. We bring you to people who've walked their sweat to the top. And we believe that their stories, or these people, or even a duo, the combination of both, will be able to trigger some pulse of life into your life, or better still, change at least a chapter in your life. Now, we will switch to the day's topic. We're speaking how actually legal firms can support the growth of SMEs. We're speaking a country that survives, whose businesses, 90% are SMEs. Now, someone is probably watching us and they have a thought to start a business in the coming month.
Yes. And
it is also statistical that more than half of these businesses never live to celebrate their first, later on the second, what we would call an anniversary or birthday for that matter. And some of the reasons actually are well documented to be legal.
Yes.
Legal reasons why they shut down.
Yes.
Which is why we thought it would be very important to have Mrs. Diana Kibuuka here to put all these queries to rest. Now, I would like to ask politely, for someone who is out there and is thinking, I need to get just a few policies, I need to get an MOU, get into a certain kind of understanding with this company and hit the ground running, what would you tell them tonight that is the purpose of actually having counsel, like we call them around town, having that legal knowledge before you do your startup? How important is it? Because many people out there, for a fact, do not think it's that important. And then we will get to the other bit after that.
All right. So first of all, I think I have 15 years of experience in corporate and commercial practice, working with medium, small businesses.
Okay.
But I've also been fortunate to work with over 200 businesses in the space of networking, of business networking.
Wow.
And I've seen businesses whose owners didn't even have a registered name, and then I've helped them to register. I've helped them then to form companies, and I've helped them to become compliant. So I think that's important. I've worked with the really micro businesses, and I've worked also with medium and large scale.
That means that for the benefit of the viewer,
yes,
we're speaking to the right person here.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
So I think the first thing is that we need to realize that we can do business in different ways. So for example, Diana here, I can set up a small stall, selling books. I love reading, so selling books, and it has no business name. It's just me doing business selling books.
Yeah.
I get the money. Maybe I recycle, put it back. Some in the business, some of it I eat. Okay.
When
I have no
some
books
profit.
of accounts.
Yeah.
I have no entry and exit of how the money came. And that's normally the first level. That's where normally people begin with. Basically, I have a product, or I have a service. I can tie people's hair. I'll wake up, come to your home, tie your hair, and live with some money.
Yeah.
But I have no registration, no accountability. So when we go to what we call a business name, which is registered, this one is simply where Diana says, that stall which is selling my books, I'm going to now register a name, and I'm going to call it Diana's Books, or book space. So it's just a business name. It's still me who is accountable for all reasons that you can imagine when it comes to that book.
Sure.
And then I can start getting an exercise book, a simple exercise book, and I write, today I sold so many books, tomorrow I'm going to buy so many books. Now that becomes my book of accounts, where I'm tracking my income, tracking my expenses. Now the next level is where I say, this business has grown a bit. I can now incorporate it as a company. And so I will have the word, Book Space Limited. This is where I have Book Space Limited. That means I've gone and incorporated a company at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. And when I incorporate a company, immediately the company is one person, a legal person for purpose. It's born out of law. It's a child of the law.
Yes.
And then I remain the human person.
The one running it.
The one running it. The one who owns. I own this legal baby. Yes.
Yeah.
So now my books of accounts have to fit in a certain format.
Okay.
Because I begin to comply with different regulators. For example, the URA, at that point,
you need to file returns.
You need to begin to show accounts to be able to accurately file returns.
Yeah.
So both the business name registration and the registration as a company and the incorporation as a company happen at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. But once you're incorporated as a company, the compliance, your compliance standards go up, because you must be able to file, present certain documents to the company's registry, but also ideally you're growing, so your accounting, your bookkeeping must also grow. Yes.
That is beautiful. Very challenging from URSB, the Bureau, to Revenue Authority. Now, maybe later when we get some time, we'll have you on the show.
And of course, KCCA. So all those are
licensing and all that. Yes. Now, I know there's a hash that goes around when we speak the language of licenses. Yes. We'll be maybe coming to that. I would like to ask that you take us through maybe briefly the procedure. We would maybe call it the legal process. If someone said, if I started out and when you move around town or even in the outskirts, you will oftentimes find Bito and Sons. It's just written on a placard or a piece of wood by the shop side, but never registered. So if someone wanted to take this a notch higher, what's the legal procedure or process? What exactly do they have to go through to get to where you would say, okay, now this is registered to be in good books? with the regulators, but also the government.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to start with, Biko and Sons is a name. So he can register that name at the Registration of Services Bureau, and he will be just allowed to use that name for purpose of doing business. Okay. So it will be Diana trading as Biko and Sons.
Yeah.
After that, Diana will still be personally responsible for the taxes. The taxes must be filed in Diana's names.
Okay.
So as long as Diana has a tax identification number, unique to her, she can trade. She will continue to trade as Biko and Sons, but all the taxes will be charged against her. So the registration at Registration Services Bureau is simply you fill a form and you present it with a passport photo, you get it signed, and you get it witnessed by an advocate. So again, now you begin to see the advocate's role in helping registration.
Yeah.
So witnessing the documents, but URSB is open to the public, and members can go and register for themselves a name. But before you register that name, you must reserve it to make sure there's no one else doing business as Biko and Sons.
And the reservation is done at the registration?
Yes, again at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau.
Okay.
Yes. So once you finish that, if I want to register Biko and Sons as a company, again, I just go reserve the name at the Registration of Services Bureau. Make sure that there's nobody else who has a company called Biko and Sons or who has a similar name. It may be Bika and Sons, So
that's not allowed?
That's not allowed because it can cause confusion.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to miss the A, maybe make a payment or deal with you thinking that you're someone else. So it can cause confusion. So they will not allow you to register a name that is similar. So once you've reserved your name and you have it registered, then now you can go to fill out the documents to incorporate a company, to build to set up that baby born in the law, the company. And what happens with the company is that they have simplified the documentation. Before, lawyers had to draft up the documents, but now there are forms which can easily be filled out. And what do you need to fill out? You fill out the information that is related to what you want to do. So if Biko and Sons wants to sell fish, wants to process fish, you just fill it out by ink, and then on the back page you sign. So that process again has been simplified by the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. And at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau on George Street, it's very easy to walk in and fill out these forms and get your company registered once your name is approved and registered. But also in that space they have the tax identification, because that becomes critical. That company must get a tax identification, and after that you must move to the next stage of licensing with the area. Within the area that the company
where
is
you're going to be.
Yes, if I'm in Nakawa, I must license within the Nakawa division.
So I'm in downtown, so that it's very easy for Caesar to locate you.
Yes.
If you wake up one beautiful Monday morning and you felt you needed to take baby steps and register your company, what are some of the legal procedures that you have to go through, flip through, just so you can realize that dream that you've always had? And that's what Counsel Mrs. Diana Kibuuka was talking about before we went for the break. And we would like to shift the attention back to you. Do some icing on that one and give someone some hope. Because before we went for the break, you were saying actually that the process and even the documentation has been optimized somewhat. And the bureaucracy is part of what has been documented as some of the discouraging factor for someone who is intending to do this kind of taking that path in the business arena.
So one, the reason that lawyers exist is to take away some of that headache, to answer your questions as you go through this process. But the process has been greatly simplified, and you now basically working with forms. And by forms, I mean, copies that you can literally write out in and deliver. The most interesting part is after the company is born. So when the company is being set up, you have to register for taxes. to get a tax identification number. That one is critical.
Yeah.
And for that, Uganda, the URA will be able to give you a TIN with ease. You just have to show your national ID and go through the process. They register the company. Then you get your licensing in the division or in the town council where you are.
The location you talked about earlier.
Yes. So once you've done that, now you're ready to operate without fear. Because at this point, you know that if KCC comes, you have the license. If URA comes, you have that TIN number. And when with the company, you're already fully registered. So now, the role of a lawyer, one is to help you with compliance, to help you make sure that you are following the law when it comes to running your business.
You're in good books.
You're in good books. So, for example, the companies, you must file a form at the end of the year which talks about who are your directors, who are the people who manage the company. So this information needs to go to the Registration of Services Bureau for your company to remain in good books. So that's where the lawyers come in. Yes, especially to help you with that compliance.
Okay.
The lawyers also help you with advisory. When you have your company, you can do business with anybody, but how do you enter that business deal?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a whole law which surrounds entering contracts, dealing businesses with individuals, and a lawyer can help you draft very simple and basic contracts to make sure that you're protected.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a lot of people enter business transactions and they
have no idea.
Yes, they say, I'll take that product or I'll take that service. Then when things fall apart, when the goodwill and the relationship falls apart, you have nothing to fall back on because the document or the small paper where you signed does not protect you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Legally.
So a lawyer would be able to help you draw an agreement that will protect you and make sure that you're covered. Then a lawyer will also help you interpret the spaces and deal with issues concerning your company. So for example, you're supposed to, if you have a company and you're employing people, ideally you should be managing them in accordance with the law, which is the Employment Act. So a lawyer then comes in to work with you to build around that. So I think for me, the lawyer's real critical part after your baby is born is to help you nurture that baby and help you make sure that that enabling environment is strong for your company to thrive and grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're probably thinking about starting up a business and going all the way, I mean, registration, getting licenses, this is the right place that you've got to be. Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m. The show is Ask the CEO. You get every nugget that you need to thrive. Now, she was talking about creating an enabling environment that you people do to enable this baby to take off. I would like to pose another question, and this is a pertinent one. We know that SMEs, we talked about it earlier.
Yes.
Everyone is just trying to get back to normal life.
Yes.
The world came to a standstill 2 years ago when lockdown life just happened. And when a phase of trying to get back, jump-starting all these dreams and businesses. So how affordable does it get?
Okay.
How there are people who are probably watching us tonight they say, oh, well, it's not a bad thing to have, but actually at what cost?
Yes.
Like how much are we talking about? Now, I'm not asking for figures,
of course,
but how affordable does it get for this person who probably has borrowed some money from that investment club, from a SACCO or from the bank, and they're looking to take off? They've calculated in quotes their path, and they feel that having counsel is going to come at an extra cost that they're not willing to actually meet. So how affordable does it get for these people?
Okay, so the process of registering a business name is much cheaper than the process of registering a company. And so if you're really just starting out, you really want to do business, you really want to set up, you can register a business name. It's much cheaper. But the power of a company is that it creates a separate person, and its taxes are different from your taxes. Yeah. Its obligations under the law are separate from yours. Now, there's a related cost to setting it up, because you're setting up a whole different entity, and there's a related cost to making sure that it's in compliance, or making sure that it's in good books with the different regulators. So the cost of setting up a company will be higher, but it will give you a separate identity from the company. If the taxman is looking for taxes from the company, those are there. So for a business owner who is considering starting business, I would say start with a business registration name. As the business grows and you're managing your overheads, you can go into a company. If you start with a company, negotiate. The most important thing is that lawyers are people. You can talk to them about the cost and you can manage it. However, there are some costs which are not negotiable, and those are the costs which are at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau for the actual registration process. But these costs are flat, and they are set, they are set to enable businesses to register and thrive. So, but those are not negotiable.
Understandably, there's always going to be a cost, at least even for the tiniest of the baby steps that we're talking about here. Just in case you're joining us for the first time, once again, I mentioned this a lot of times because we have new viewers who are watching us from DSTV. It's always a pleasure catching you on the show. Be sure to catch this beautiful show every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. This is a place to be. Ask the CEO, and my name is Sabiiti. With me here, I'm very privileged tonight to share in the space with amazing counsel, Mrs. Diana Kibuuka, and we're talking about the role of legal firms in the growth of SMEs. Now, SMEs form over 90% of businesses that run in Nepal here in Africa. Now, another question that I would like to now pose that is so related to where we closed off on the last question is you're encouraging these small businesses to at least start with registration, business registration, secure the name and begin growing your business. Now, I know that there comes a point where this business actually takes off and they would like to get a share on certain tables of opportunities.
Yes.
Is this where we're talking about what opportunities actually are there? What motivation could be there? Because it's also very easy for someone to stay on that that phase of businesses, and even when they're making a lot of profit, they're not seeing what actually would motivate someone to take that other curve, a bold step, go into registration, to become Gundi and Sons Limited. That thing. What motivation would be there?
Okay, so the motivation is more business, really, plain and simple. If you want more business, you grow. And if you don't have a registration or a company that has been set up, most of the bigger companies, most of the medium-sized companies, and especially the large-sized companies, will not do business with you. So it's your loss. Now, Uganda Revenue Authority has tightened the belt. Compliance is really, really tight for medium and large-scale businesses, and they must have a clean record. So if they're dealing with anybody, they need for you at least to have a tax identification number. They need for you to be properly licensed so that they can be able to also manage their compliance or keep in good books with the other regulators. So you're missing business if you remain small. You're missing business if you don't register. And unfortunately, that means you will not grow that dream, that vision which you wanted to pour yourself into.
That is really, really, really helpful. Now, with the Uganda Revenue Authority tightening all the loose ends, you can be very sure it won't be long. So for some of those companies who are probably operating and even getting into spheres where they shouldn't be, how actually actually can they get out of it without what I would call in quotes exposing themselves? How smooth can that transition be? Maybe someone runs a company here,
Yes.
and but they haven't been in good books.
Yes.
So how does the reconciliation start here?
I think first talk to your lawyer. That's what I will say. Find a lawyer.
Yeah.
But talk to your lawyer. And for me, it's find a specific lawyer
Yeah.
who can help you navigate that point. Not every lawyer is a good lawyer to talk to about going to URA. So you find the lawyer who is good at tax and go tax law and go there and ask them about it. Or talk to your accountant, especially if it's for books of accounts. Talk to your accountant because they can read your numbers and they can help you to navigate and find a tax lawyer. So, but if you're not in compliance, meaning if you're not in good books with regulators, I want to really caution, you must begin to take steps because, when you're already in a hole and you're digging deeper, or when you're in a boat which is sinking.
You can only...
Yes. When you're in a boat which is sinking and the water is coming in.
Yeah.
So non-compliance will definitely lead to sinking.
That's what I was about to ask you because some people think they will hang in.
Yes.
They will hang in for a little longer.
Yes.
And where I come from, there's a proverb that does not encourage that kind of hanging on. When you see the boat is really going down, I was going to ask, what are some of the challenges that like legally?
Yes.
What are some of the challenges? What problems, if found out, what happens? Like legally.
Okay. Of course, I can't speak for the different regulators, but there are fines, there are penalties, there's imprisonment, depending on what it is.
Wow.
And again, you're talking about a business operating. You remember, you have tax compliance, you have licensing. KCCA will shut you down. It will put a big padlock on your door, and it will fine you. Yeah. So, but each regulator will have different power under the law. So they always operate under the law. Uganda Registration Services Bureau will fine. URA has different powers. They can seize your bank accounts. So it's not in your favor not to comply. The law actually has power, and the regulators they don't just bite back, they actually bite. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. This is what you hear when you meet someone who has amassed over 15 years of legal experience from the banking and finance to tax compliance, immigration, employment law, property, and now this is this is hot cake when you talk property. I hope that maybe you can find another time so that maybe we can actually talk about this whole property thing.
Yes.
People do not, like you said earlier, people do not find reason why they need to involve counsel when they are doing that transaction.
True.
Some of them actually want to close the deal, so that no one else gets to know about it until darkness shows up at noon.
True.
It backfires, and then they're saying, "Do you know a lawyer I can speak to?"
Yes.
So I would like to ask. You said if someone wants to redeem the time, they need to speak to their lawyer.
Yes.
If someone was so lay, fresh in town, and they probably never had many contacts, and they wanted a good lawyer, I understand you have a huge body, the Uganda Law Society.
Yes.
Is there a platform where someone can actually walk in and get some of these advisory services?
Okay, so no, the Uganda Law Society is a body which brings together lawyers, but you cannot walk in and get advisory services, but you can get a recommendation to a lawyer, a trusted lawyer. The names of the lawyers are listed on the website,
on the
so you can also access the the name of the law firm that lawyer is in, and then you'll have to use Google or internet, to find that lawyer's contacts and actually where that law firm is, and you walk there. That's what's there right now.
Now, in an era where we have a lot of contracting and subcontracting. You want to be in good books because sure enough, as sure as the sun rises from the east, you will need those good books when you want to land that contract, when you want to do the bidding. And that's what council has been talking about for the last about 40 minutes. Now, she closed while saying, make Google your friend. Now, some say Google, some say Google, but make that Google your friend. Why? Because there's a lot of information up there. As a matter of fact, in 2007, the computer was voted the person of the year because everything that is known to the richest people is made available. Just you need some 10 megabytes of data and you're connected to the rest of the world. In having an amazing lady counsel in the building, her name is Mrs. Diana Ninsiima Kibuuka, with over 15 years of legal experience in different faculties of the arena. She's won a couple of awards. I'm telling you, top 40 under 40 in 2018. Those who speak the business language, you know, BNI. She was the BNI Emerging Leader CEO's Award 2019. But she's also international lawyers, a candidate for Uganda, seconded to this is what? Slaughter and May LLDP?
It's an English law firm, a law firm in London.
Yeah, so the next time you probably don't hear from me, I have a contact for someone who has a contact in London. It's a huge pleasure having you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Apollo.
Yeah. Now, we always dedicate this last part of the show to the African youth. We believe that Africa, which has the youngest population in the world, as a matter of fact, we believe that youth have a stake in the growth of this continent. Now, there are definitely a number of things that the youth have to attend to, change about themselves, for us to be a reckoning force to bring about this change. This is what we will be talking about in this last part of the show. We wouldn't have had a better person. And I know your heart also beats for the girl child.
Yes.
Tell us about what are some of the pillars that you think are non-negotiables for you when it comes to bringing up, creating atmosphere for youths to thrive here in Uganda, in East Africa, and across the African continent?
Okay. Thank you, Apollo. Yes, I really love working with the youth because they have so much potential. And if they're just directed, just nurtured, just helped along, they actually flourish and bloom. They bring forth much fruit.
Right.
So one thing I think we need to begin to listen to the youth. And listen not just to accommodate, but to actually hear, to listen, to empathize, and sometimes to listen without expecting to answer their questions, but to invite them to find the answers, to guide them as they find the answers. I think that as old people, we disregard the wisdom of youth. We disregard the perspective of youth. We disregard the fact that they are walking a mile in their shoes. They know where it pinches. They are going through these emotions for the first time. They're experiencing this, space for the first time. And we need to give them the credit to acknowledge them, acknowledge that they are unique individuals walking in a unique time, going through, the changes that they're going through, and listen to them, really. Yeah, that's the one thing I would amplify. Yes.
Lovely. As an advocate, you're also a connector. You're also a community leader.
Yes.
Take us to how different you think the times are today than it was when you were growing up around Gaba. Okay. I would like to, let's roll the tape.
Yes.
Some of the holidays when you came back home, worked at the supermarket, bread and milk on a daily, attending to people. How have the times changed? The era has overwhelming complexity, a lot of competition. How much change is there?
Okay. So I think for me the first change is that our children, my children, the youth today, you don't just tell them you engage them, you get their buy-in. Many times my nephew, my sons, when I say we are going to do this now, say no, but I have plans. I was going to do this. So it's no longer an issue of go, do, jump. No. At this time I was hoping, is it okay for you to come and we do this? Put them in your plan early. Don't just force people. For me, I didn't have a plan. The plan was what I woke up to. So that has changed. The youth want to take control, have some say. Yeah. And we must give them that. The other thing which has changed is that I believe I had more freedom than my sons. I grew up in Makerere, then I grew up in Chambogo, and then Gaba, and I could get in a taxi, I would go. There was no concern of how far, where are you, what time are you coming back. There were no phones to check on me, whether I was home or not. But my children today, when I think of sending them out into the town alone at the age they are in,
you want to assume the role of the FBI.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, but sure. Are we safe? But at 12 I would go into town and do what I needed to do and come back home. So there are freedoms which I think I used to have because of the general perceived safety in the community. I can't give my children today. I think those are two things that I would stand out.
Yeah. That is very important to note. I also know for a fact, for parents who are probably watching this show tonight, we hear you, we see you arranging play dates, things that never happen.
I know.
Every day, as a matter of fact, was play day.
Yes.
Yeah, and whether they are playing from your home or you go to the neighbors, it is also okay. So the way of life definitely is calling the shots here. Yes. Now, I would like to also ask, growing up, one of the pillars that we share at Young and Flourishing Foundation is mentorship. How important, how far does it go in guiding, especially now that you say in this era of a lot of fast life? We're talking fast internet, we have fast foods. People even want to get their success in a snap.
Yes.
Yeah, they are at the university and they are thinking, they're looking at you. You've been out there, rolling your sleeves, getting your feet wet for 15 years. Yes. But a young lady looks at what you've achieved and they think, they feel they actually deserve that in the first year that they're out of the university. I believe that falls within the bounds of mentorship, career, training, and all that. How important do you think it is today?
Okay. So the first thing is that I'm fortunate that I had people going before me. I told you I was sixth in my family. Yeah. And I have older siblings. So I learned from them how to do life, how to engage with friends, how to partner, how to collaborate. So for me, that has been so critical. How to share space, possessions, ideas. So I think that for the young people today, we must remember that someone held our hand, someone showed us the way, and we must be more intentional about doing that. So I'm fortunate to be part of a group of mentors for a program where we mentor women and girls in leadership. We've been able to mentor over 2,700 women.
Wow.
And the most important thing that I've seen is that when these young ladies, when these women come into the space, they are in awe that somebody was willing to take the time to give to them. So the greatest gift that those of us who are older can give the youth is a gift of time. Take time to sit with your youth around you, tell them your story, and ask them to, how you can help them, how you can speak into their lives and show them the next path. Yeah.
And I would like to request kindly that if you could also share a lot. Now, you talked about it, I think, in general, that the adults can give. I would like you to speak to some parent out there. I know life in the city or even elsewhere isn't getting any easier.
Yes.
Trying to make ends meet, trying to make that school fees so they can send their child to school
Yes.
sometimes can get very hard.
Yes.
Retiring from work in the wee hours of the night, and then you have to catch the earliest taxi from the outskirts of town. How do they balance this? Because their children definitely need them.
Yeah.
In this era of a lot of technology, children are able to see almost anything on the internet.
Yes.
What message would you tell to a parent who is watching us tonight?
Okay.
And in line with this mentorship also, but
Yes.
particularly the role of a parent, their presence
Yes.
in as this young person evolves, goes
Yes.
through this, from body changes to through school and later on getting into the marketplace.
Okay. I'll tell them two things. First of all, build a community. And we're fortunate in our country that people will support each other. You may not be related by blood, but you may have friends who are close to you, church members who are close to you, neighbors who are close to you. And there have been times in my life when I've left my child with a neighbor and said, I'm going to town briefly.
Yeah,
I don't have support. Can you help me? So the question is, can you build that community? The second one is treat the people who help you at your homes well. Treat them with decency, treat them with dignity, because they are a crucial part of you, helping you raise your children. And they can really become guardians when you're not there. They can't take your role, but they can become guardians. And the third thing is, when you're home with your children, spend quality time with them. Be invested in spending quality time with them. Put down that phone, switch off that radio, switch off that TV after this show. And have a conversation.
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. It goes a long way. And definitely there are always rewards therein if you invest that much time into your child's life. Now, we have a few minutes to go, and I would like to speak to one of something that's moving the waves.
Yes.
This humble, amazing lady you're watching here is also vying for the biggest chair in the legal arena, at least concerning Uganda's matters. The Uganda Law Society. She's an aspirant for the spot of the presidency, but as you can see, she hasn't mentioned it anywhere. But definitely, it's something I was never going to skip.
Yes.
And we some people, I overheard some people asking earlier, what exactly, because the energy is too much out there.
Yes.
What exactly is it all about?
Yes.
Yes. Does it benefit Omuntu Wansi?
Yes.
Does it in any way, directly or indirectly?
Yes.
If you could just throw some light, and then we'll move on.
Okay. Very briefly, Uganda Law Society is a member association which brings together all the lawyers in Uganda.
Yeah.
And so I'm offering to serve the lawyers in Uganda. But as a society, its mandate includes enabling access to justice, promoting rule of law, and good governance. And so ultimately, Umuntu Wansi listens to what the society is saying and feels, and is interested in the going on at the society. Yes.
Very, very interesting. And I must say that we'll definitely be vouching for you. We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, when I get back home, I will summon my family and we'll be praying for you.
Thank you so much, Apollo.
Now, before we close the beautiful show, what has been a very, very beautiful show, I find it very, very informative.
Yes.
Parting shots.
Okay.
Something that you would like to leave to someone who's probably only been able to catch the last part of the show, but now still about the relevance of legal firms in the growth of the SMEs.
Okay.
As we close.
I will say to the people who are running businesses, however small, a lawyer is an advisor. A lawyer is a partner in business growth. So don't look at them as a burden. Don't only go to them when you have problems. They are able to share what they have with you to help your business grow. And today we're talking about Ask the CEO. There's always advice to be gleaned from others. So follow the journey of others and see how they have been able to grow. It's critical that you follow the journey of other business owners, learn from their stories, and ask the CEO in the business next to yours and see how you can grow like they are doing or even more. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a huge pleasure sharing in your space tonight, and we do wish you the very best.
Thank you.
And to the dear viewers who are watching us tonight, thank you so much for sticking by. We'll do this again next week, same station. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Ask the CEO. We arrest all your fears and help you to get your first step into the next best version of yourself, whether it's a career path, whether you're thinking about business or stranded somewhere on the walks of life. We try to bring people who will shed some light, illuminate that dark spot that you're afraid of, and help you to get into the next phase of your life. And with that, we say good night and see you next week.